when we're reading this, it's very helpful for you to always read it out loud. Never read it just in your head. And we can think about it like this. Think about your Greek knowledge like a tree. And really, learning anything goes like this. Your Greek knowledge is like a tree. And that is that the more roots that tree has, the stronger it's going to be. And quite literally, as you engage your brain in different ways in Greek, your brain is forming neural pathways that are different from each other. And if you're just looking at the text and saying it quietly in your head, you're only activating a limited sense of neural pathways. But if you speak it, there's another neural pathway. If you sort of act it out with your hands, that's another neural pathway. If you write it down with your hand, that's another neural pathway. So if you're activating your brain in all these different ways, it is going to stick in your brain better than if you just read it quietly to yourself. Okay, so we are going to read through this together. I'm going to help you out, and then we'll split into groups and read it.
You're going to go
super slow. All right, exactly. Okay, so a couple notes on these dialogues in this book. You can see line 5 here and then line 10 here. So that means that it's going to be numbering 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's line 11. So they're even numbering the spaces. So if you flip ahead to just like somewhere randomly in the middle of the book, you'll see there's actually bigger paragraphs. So it'll be a little while before we get there. But we're sticking with just these short sentences right now. Okay, so I'm going to read this slowly. I want you all to repeat after me. Jēkabās. Right, so Jēkabās. Or if we want to divide that up into syllables, Jēkabās. So that's sort of the Greek equivalent of Jacob or James. When you read in the New Testament Jēkabās, that's James. All right, so everybody again say Jēkabās. And then everybody, oops.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I thought I read in the textbook that you're pronouncing a word, you use every vowel is a syllable.
Yes and no. Remember, there's diphthongs. Diphthongs are a combination of vowels. Yeah, so that'll be one syllable.
But
yeah,
you just pronounce this word.
Yeah.
IA. So it's IA. Maybe I use it.
Jēkabās. Yeah.
I haven't got that far yet. Is that a diphthong then? IA?
I guess it's kind of a half syllable. Jēkabās. Yeah, I don't have a technical explanation as to why that's the case. Yeah, good question. Keep asking them. Okay, everybody wave and say Kyrie. Kyrie. Kyrie literally means rejoice. It's an imperative, but it also means hello. So when you, if you read a little bit of French or you hear someone say bonjour, what does that mean? Hello effectively means hello, but it literally means good day. But when people are saying bonjour, they're not saying good day, they're saying hello. Same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie is a greeting. So to activate more neural pathways in your brain, say Kyrie and wave. Go Kyrie. Everybody look to a neighbor and say Kyrie. Now, if I were to say to you, Kyrie, I wouldn't say that. I would say Kyrete. Because Kyrete is what you would say to multiple people. Kyrie is what you say to one person. You'll understand why as we keep going. So, yeah, go for it.
So, there's an exclamation.
Yeah.
That wasn't one of their 4 punctuations, or is it?
It's in there just for some flavor. Yeah, I mean, like the original Greek text does not have quotations, does not have exclamation points. Actually, doesn't have any punctuation at all. That's added by the editors to make it.
Us.
Yeah, to help you read it. So, Kyrie. Now, everybody point to yourself and say ego. Ego. That means I. That's where we get the word ego. You know, your sense of self. That person has a big ego. Your sense of self. And now say ego eimi. Ego eimi. That means I am. So the sentence here, Jēkabās, Kyrie, ego eimi, Jēkabās. Anyone care to give me a brief translation of what that means? Jacob. Hello, I am Jacob. Now the next character enters the scene, Dawid. Dawid. Everyone say Dawid after me. Dawid. Kyrie, ego eimi, Dawid. Remember, when you're saying ego e mi, tap your chest because you're trying to memorize what this means. So, kaere, ego e mi, David. All right, so slow down. David, kaere, ego e mi, David. All right. Jacobus then responds to him, Jacobus, kaere, tis e su. So everybody go like this. Tis a su and point to somebody. All right, so tis is who. Who are you? Tis a su. So Dawid now says to him, he answers his question, Dawid, ego e mi Dawid. Tis a su. So David says, I am David. Who are you? And we've already read the sentence 3 times. Jacobus, ego e mi Jacobus. Everyone say that. All right, so now we've got a third character who joins the scene, Maria. Everyone say Maria. So you might notice that I'm not saying Maria, there's a Maria. There's a bit of a roll in the R's if you're getting a technical Greek pronunciation. You don't have to do that if some people aren't capable of doing it. But just if you listen to the YouVersion Bible app, especially the one with a native speaker, you're going to hear him saying that. So Maria says, Kaire, tis estin autos. Everyone point to a man. Everyone point to a man and say autos. Autos. Go, tis estin autos. Right, so autos means him. Okay? So here's an interesting point here. You're going to see this all over the New Testament, this sort of semicolon. For some reason, in their infinite wisdom, they've kept the exclamation point, but the semicolon is a question mark, like this. Why? I have no idea. I don't know why they don't just print a question mark, but when you open up your New Testament, that's what you're going to see. So, Maria, kaire, tis estin autos. All right, so Dawid answers and says, Dawid, autos. Point to a man and say autos. Autos. Autos estin Jacobus. Right. So, anybody want to take a guess what this word estin is? Is, exactly. So, he is Jacob. Autos estin Jacobus. All right. So now we've got a slight variation in this next sentence. Jacobus says to Dawid, tis estin aute. So that's a little bit different than here. We've got autos. Everyone point to a man and say autos. Now everyone point to a woman and say aute. Right. So autos means he, and aute means right. So Jacobus says, tis estin aute. Everyone go. Tis estin aute. All right. Dawid says, aute estin Maria. Perfect. All right. Let's flip or keep going. Marcos says, kairete. Now, why is Marcos saying kairete? Right. So look at one person next to you and say kaire. Now look across the room and go, kairete. Yeah, Stephanie's got the 2 hands. Perfect. That's exactly right. So Marcos says, kairete. So why am I saying kairete and not kairete? Anyone remember? Right? Yeah. The accent is on the first one. Remember, it's leviosa, not leviosa, right? Anyone get the... So it's kairete. So kairete, not kairete, because of the accent. And if you mess up the accents, that's okay. It doesn't change the meaning of the word. But if you want to pronounce it correctly, they're there for that. So Dawid says, kaire. Maria, kaire. Tis a su. And what does that mean? Who are you? Now, Marcos is going to answer this question a little bit differently. Marcos is going to say, ego eimi, here's a long word, hodidaskalos. So everyone knows what the word didactic means? Anyone heard that word before? It means educational, and has some kind of learning aspect to it. So didaskalos is a teacher. Didaskalos is a teacher. Everyone say after me, didaskalos. Now say hodidaskalos. That means the teacher as opposed to a teacher. So this word ha, that is the. Everyone say ha. Okay. So everyone go, ego eimi hodidaskalos. I am the teacher. Now, Dawid, he responds with a different word. He's saying T and not tis. So T means what? Tis means who. So Dawid go T? T? So Marcos says, ego eimi hodidaskalos. Dawid says T? All right. Now we're rocking and rolling. Marcos says, ego eimi hodidaskalos. Iacobus says, ti onimasoi. Everyone say ti onimasoi. So what does T mean? What? I want to take a guess at this word. Onoma?
Yeah.
Name. So Jacobus says, ti onoma soy. Everyone point to someone and say, ti onoma soy.
Yeah.
You're saying, what is your name? What is your name? Now, just a brief pause. If this sounds like I'm going too fast, today, all the material I present, you're going to have 5 weeks with before I give you anything new. Okay? So don't be intimidated if this sounds a little bit fast. You're going to spend 5 weeks with this and another dialogue that I'm going to give you. All right. Yeah, go for it. So you won't get this until a couple chapters from now, exactly what soy is, but it literally means what name you. It would be sort of, but in English we'd say, what is your name? Yeah, but what name you would be a literal translation. But we're not going to do that. We're going to say, what is your name? Because that's effectively what it means. So Marcos answers that question. He says, ego eimi Marcos. Ti anima soy. Everyone say that whole sentence. Marcos. Right. Ego eimi Marcos ti anima soy. Jacobus says this, I think it's the 4th time we've had this sentence. Jacobus. Ego eimi Jacobus.
Ego.
And then Marcos then says, ti anima aute. Everyone point to a woman and say, ti anima aute. What does that mean? Yeah, what is her name? And Jacobus responds, anima aute Maria. All right, that is the end of the first dialogue. So I'm going to pause it here. My recording. Remember that everything that I'm presenting to you today, you have 5 weeks with, because we'll be meeting again in 2 weeks, and all we'll be doing in 2 weeks is just reading together like we just did, the next dialogue. But I won't be teaching you anything new, and then you'll have a 3-week break to just work on your own. Okay, so I want to give a brief, I want to just explain something you'll be doing in the homework coming up. It's called the scriptorium technique for reading fluency. Everybody take out this sheet. It's on the table in front of you. I want this to be your bookmark in your Zhang reader. So whatever you're currently reading in Zhang, use this as your bookmark, because this is going to describe for you the technique to read. Now, you don't have to do this exactly. If this is just an absolute pain and you hate it and you just don't want to do it, I don't do it if you absolutely hate it, because if you absolutely hate it, then you won't do it. But like I said, with learning a language or really learning anything, trying to put more roots in your brain, literal roots, neural pathways, neurons that are firing together and wiring together to solidify in your brain a concept. This is going to help do that as you read. And this is superior to flashcards when learning vocabulary. So if you absolutely love flashcards and you want to make flashcards to learn the vocabulary, go for it. I won't stop you. But flashcards are going to train you in a very unnatural way. You'll look at your flashcard, and on the back, you'll write your English definition, and you'll train your brain to correlate that Greek word with that one definition. So, for instance, kaire means literally what? Rejoice is the literal meaning, but it effectively, in conversation, means hello. Right? So it's a fluid meaning. It's got a larger semantic domain, is what it's called. It's this field of meaning that kind of leans in one direction depending on its context. But if you learn the vocabulary as you just did now in the context, you train your brain to see it in relation to other words, in relation to a scene. And that is a much more natural way to learn language than with a flashcard. So if you absolutely love flashcards, use them. I'm just saying that the technique I'm about to teach you is superior to flashcards. Okay, so scriptorium technique for reading fluency. From henceforward, it's going to be abbreviated STRF. So I'm going to do it right now with, let's say, the first line. Let's do it right here. Maria kaire tis estin autos. So what you'll do is you'll read that sentence, Maria kaire tis estin autos. And then you're going to take the smallest chunk of that you can commit to short-term memory, as in, let's say, Maria kaire. That's all I'm doing right now, Maria kaire. You're going to reference your grammar and make sure that you can understand that sentence. You don't want to move on until you understand what that sentence means. Once you're confident you know what the words mean, once you're confident you know all the grammatical constructions, then move on to step 2. Without looking at the original print, you'll cover it up. You'll try and copy it. So I'll say, where was I? I'll cover it and I'll say, Maria, let's say, Kai, and then I'm going to misspell it, Cairo. And then I'll look at the original and I'll say Maria Caire. And I'll say, oh, look, I got it wrong. So then I'll go ahead and correct my spelling. I'll say Maria Caire. And then I'll read what I wrote. That is step 3. I'll read my written sentence and correct it, Maria Caire. And then I will repeat steps 1 through 4, if that makes sense. So once I've done that, Maria Caire, I'll move on to the next one. Tis estin autos. I'll commit that to memory. Tis estin autos. I'll cover it up. All right. Tis estin autos. Tis estin autos. Tis estin autos. I got that right. Okay, and then I'll just continue like that. One of the videos in the homework is a video of somebody on YouTube doing this, so you can watch his example if what I just said didn't make sense. And then you will progress to do the entire dialogue like that. Once you get a paragraph done, now these first couple dialogues, there aren't paragraphs. You're not going to see paragraphs until a little bit later. Once you get the paragraph down, then you just look at the text as it appears on your page, and you're going to read that over and over again until you can read it without consulting a translation, without consulting aid. And as you read it, I don't want you to translate into English in your head. I want you to try and invoke a scene in your head. So as I read Maria, Caire, tis estin autos, I want you to picture a woman in your head, whatever you think Maria looks like. Picture her waving, or even do it yourself. Caire, tis estin autos, she points at a man. As soon as you can read that, and not translate it into English in your head, but instead invoke a scene, well, then you're actually reading the Greek, and you're not translating it. And that's the goal. The goal is to read it, not turn it into English, and invoke a scene in your head that correlates to the words. All right? So that's the scriptorium technique for reading fluently. Again, if you absolutely hate it and you can't stand it, don't do it. but I want you to give it a try for these first couple dialogues. And if you're saying it, if you're writing it, if you're reading it, if you're acting it out with your hands, and you are playing a scene in your head, you're solidifying it in your brain much better than just reading in flashcards. All right? Cool. So go ahead and use this as your bookmark. All right, I know I said this the last lesson, but I want to say it again, that everything I'm about to say is going to sound like a lot of information. I just want to remind you that you're going to have over a month to work through it before I give you anything new. So don't worry about taking a whole lot of notes. Just kind of listen to what I'm saying, look at what I'm presenting, and know that what is in the book will probably answer whatever question you have, and I'll be giving you videos throughout the week that are going to reinforce these same concepts. All right, so let's talk about a little bit of technical grammar. Subject, verb, and object. These are the three main components to a sentence. There's adverbs, verbs, adjectives, and other things, but right now we're just focusing on subject, verb, and object. Let's look at this English sentence right here. The girl throws the ball. So the subject of this sentence is the girl. What's the verb? Anyone know? Throws, yeah. So throws, the verb is what she's doing. And what's the object? The ball, right. So the subject, verb, object. Subject is the subject of the sentence. The verb is what the subject is doing. And the object is that thing that they're doing the action to. English is what is called an SVO language, meaning that word order is very, very important in English. In English, I cannot say the ball the girl throws. I guess maybe in some poetry you could, and maybe in some archaic language, I could say that and you'd know what it means, but that doesn't really make sense. You would expect me to say the girl throws the ball. Subject, verb, object. Greek is not like that. Greek is very fluid in its word order, and in a couple lessons you'll understand how that can be used to invoke meaning. So let's talk about the characteristics of the Greek verb. So there's a couple things that I want you to notice about a Greek verb. There's the tense, the voice, and the mood. So the tense is a time aspect, a temporal aspect, past, present, and future. If I were to say past tense of throw, I would say threw. If I were to say the present of throw, it's throw. And the future of throw is will throw. So that's the tense. There's the voice. Could be active or passive voice, and I'll give you a couple examples of that in a minute. And then there's the mood. Indicative, imperative, optative. I don't expect you to know what any of that means yet. And we're going to spend the majority of this year in just the indicative. What the indicative is just explaining things that are concrete as they are. The girl threw the ball. It's something that happened. I'm conveying concrete meaning to you. That's indicative. And as the course progresses, we'll be learning how to speak in things that are not the indicative. But let's give some examples here. Let's D1 here. The girl throws the ball. That's present, active, indicative. The girl throws the ball. What about passive? The ball is thrown by the girl. The girl is still the subject. The ball is still the object. Throwing is still the verb. But now it's in the passive voice. The ball is thrown by the girl. And if you ever do any writing that anyone's going to edit for you, they may circle that and say, use active voice. It's preferable to use the active voice. But the passive voice does have its place. So look at the sentence. The ball is thrown by the girl. Present, passive, indicative. What about the girl threw the ball? Now that's past tense, active, indicative. I put past tense in brackets because there's different kinds of past tense in Greek. But just for right now, just understand past tense. What about if we wanted to say something not in the indicative? We'd say, hey girl, throw the ball. That's present and active, but now it's imperative. An imperative is a command, right? Hey girl, throw the ball. Present, active, imperative. Okay, so the paradigm chart that I'm about to teach you is the present, active, indicative. A paradigm chart is what this is right here, this chart here. And on one hand, you'll see singular. On the other, you'll see plural. And then you'll see first, second, and third. And every time I teach you a verb, I'm going to give you one of these charts. So let's look at an example. Well, before that, look at this word conjugation here. I have throw, throws, thrown, through. That's all the same word, but it's changing the way it sounds. It's changing the way it's spelled to give it a different function in the sentence. And when we change the way it's spelled to give it a different function, that's called conjugating a verb. So we'll be conjugating verbs. All right, so let's look at this paradigm chart for the word to throw. When I put to in front of it, that makes it infinitive. You'll understand what that means as we progress. So to throw, that's the verb, present active indicative. First person singular, I throw. When I say first person, I'm referring to something that I am doing. Second person is you, not someone else, but you. You throw. Third person singular, he, she, or it throws. Now, you would never say in English, it throw the ball. Maybe if you're a child, you would, but as you learn how to speak the language, you automatically put that S there. Why? I don't know. Just natural development of the English language. You are conjugating the word throw to say he, she, or it throws the ball. And then the plural, first person plural, we throw. Second person plural, y'all throw. We don't have a second person plural in English unless you're from the South. We have y'all throw. And third person plural, they throw. All right? Does that make sense? So let's look at a verb that is irregular, to be. First person singular, I am. Second person singular, you are. Third person singular, he, she, or it is. So am, are, is. All the same word, but I've conjugated it. And in the plural, we are, y'all are, they are. All right? And then we can have a verb in the future active indicative would be I will be, you will be, he, she, or it will be, we will be, y'all will be, they will be. All right? Does that make sense? Okay. So let's now look at this word parsing. In the homework, eventually you'll see this word parsing. Parse this verb. What that means is you look at the verb and then you write next to it the aspects of the verb. So throws, that's present active indicative, third singular. He, she, or it throws the ball. Is thrown, that's present passive indicative, third singular. He, she, or it is thrown. It doesn't necessarily mean third singular. There could be other kinds there. Through, past tense, active, indicative, third, singular. Or throw, present, active, imperative, third, singular. So those are just examples, what the word parse means. When I give you a word and say parse it, you're giving me those aspects based off of the verb. Okay, note on this word luo. This is a word that you are going to see a lot. Luo means to loosen, as in I have a knot and I'm loosening it, or I have some bags that are tied and I'm going to loosen it, or destroy. It can mean either thing. And if you kind of think abstractly, well, maybe it's the same sense and we're shoehorning it into these English meanings. But as we translate it in English, it means to loosen or destroy. The reason why we use luo as our standard paradigm verb is because it's regular and it's short. Luo has a very short stem, lambda, upsilon, and then an ending omega. So everybody flip to Croy, page 8. This book, page 8. And look about the middle of the page where it says the present active indicative, and you'll see a paradigm chart like what I just showed you, but in Greek, where it says luo, lues, lue, luamen, luete, luci. So the stem, that is the beginning of the word, that part that stays the same is lambda upsilon. And then the end of it changes. You look at the first singular and you see that omega. So that's the ending for the first singular. So when I say luo, I'm saying I destroy or I loosen. And you look at the second singular where it says lues. So the lambda upsilon stays the same, but now you have epsilon iota sigma. Lues. that is you destroy or you loosen. Third singular, lue, lambda, upsilon, epsilon, iota. And that's he, she, or it loosens, he, she, or it destroys. We go over onto the plural, first singular, luamen. You've got lambda, upsilon, omicron, mu, epsilon, nu. That is third plural, we destroy or we loosen. Got luete, lambda, upsilon, epsilon, tau, epsilon. Y'all destroy, y'all loosen. And then in the third plural, Lucy, with that omicron, upsilon, sigma, iota ending. Now you look at the third plural and you've got that nu in parentheses. That's called a movable nu. And a movable nu, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. You find it there when the following word begins with a vowel. And so it makes it easier to say, so you don't have two vowels kind of clashing with one another.
Like an apple.
Yeah, exactly.
A banana.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Oh.
A banana, an apple. Exact same thing. Good observation. All right, so sometimes you'll see this word lexical form. A lexicon is a fancy word for a dictionary. The lexical form is the version that you see when you look it up. And the lexical form is always going to end with that omega for the verbs that end with omega. Well, eventually we're going to find some that don't. But all the ones I'm giving you now end with omega, which is the first person singular. So when let's say you flip to the back of your book and you kind of look up some verbs, every time you see a verb, you see that omega ending. That's called the lexical form. Okay. So how to memorize these forms? Periodically in the homework, you're going to be asked to reproduce that chart. So to reproduce the chart, I would say luo, luace, lue, luamen, luete, Lucy. So I would expect you to be able to do what I just did, to be able to write that form in your head. Excuse me, write it down from memory. It'll take you a little bit of time to be able to do that, but periodically you'll be asked to do that throughout the homework. Now, eventually, as you continue to read this language and you hear these words, you are initially going to consult this chart in your head and you're going to think, okay, I see an epsilon iota ending luace in the text. I'm going to go over the chart in my head. I'm going to go luo, luace, lue. Okay, luace, that's the second singular. Oh, it means you destroy. So the first couple times you read it, you're going to probably have to go through that process. But as you read this over and over and over again and you hear the sound of them, well, then you're just going to know that that's what it means. And eventually you're going to get to that point. So everybody point to yourself and say luo. Now point to somebody else and say luace. Now point to somebody across the room and say lue. Now look at somebody next to you and go luamen. Now say amen. And then point to everyone at the table and go luete. And now go Lucy. Okay, so point to yourself, luo, luace, lue, luamen, luete, Lucy. Okay, so as you are reading these verbs, try and act them out with your hands. That's instilling the meaning into your head using a different neural pathway. Does that make sense? All right. I know that sounds like a lot, but you've got 5 weeks to wrestle with this. And as you're reading, doing the scriptorium technique, you're writing this over and over and over again, and it will, trust me, it'll get in there. Homework is going to feel repetitive. Again, that's by design because repetition and consistency are key to language acquisition. I want you to flip to pages 10 and 11 in Croy right now. So here's some exercises that you'll be doing. at the top of page 11, you'll see English to Greek. So that's looking at English and then producing Greek. That's a good exercise to do. However, I want you to make sure that you can do the other exercises before you try that English to Greek. If you never get to the English to Greek and you just stay in Greek to English, as in reading Greek and then producing English, make sure you can do that first before you ever attempt English to Greek. And if you never attempt English to Greek, that's okay too. But if you get to it, it'll help. But prioritize Greek to English, not English to Greek. Okay, I want to review the homework that we have coming up this week. All right, so we are right here. We just reviewed chapter 1, and I just presented chapter 2. So tomorrow you're going to spend some more time with the alphabet, just making sure you can continue to write that down, review the diphthongs. And then you're going to watch this video here, Scriptorium Technique to Reading Fluency. The video has some Latin, Italian, Greek, and whatever, but if you just watch 312 to 1150, you're going to see somebody doing that exercise in Greek, and he's going to explain to you some of the rationale behind it. And then I want you to start doing STRF for Zhang 1. That was that dialogue that we all just read together. Now you'll see Wednesday, the only thing you're doing is STRF for that exact same dialogue. So that doesn't mean that on Tuesday you do the whole thing and then Wednesday you do the whole thing. It's just Tuesday, get as far as you can in your 15 to 20 minutes of study time, and then the next day, pick up wherever you left off. And so as we start getting into these longer dialogues, you'll have a whole week where you're just doing STRF for a single dialogue. Just put a bookmark in, right on the side of the page, a tick mark where you left off, and then just pick up the next day. Okay, so after you do that, then you'll see read Zhang 1. That just means pick it up and read that dialogue out loud by yourself. So before you even get to that chapter 2 stuff that I just presented, you're going to be spending time in that dialogue that we just read in class. And I'm pretty confident that after a couple days of reading it, you're going to know it like the back of your head. You'll probably start dreaming, ego eimi yakabas. All right. Thursday, we've got some reading in the book. Again, there's a difference between skimming and there's a difference between reading. Skimming, just know it's there, cast your eyes on it, know what's in it, but don't feel like you have to spend a lot of brain cells working on it. Reading, I want you to actually read every word and try and understand what it says. After that, on Friday, you've got a lecture that's going to present the present active indicative in a different way than I presented it to you. So you're going to hear the exact same information by somebody else. And then after that, we've got another song. And you know